Make sure that your DDM spreadsheet can do everything that I show you in this video. Notice that I've hidden the rows right here just to make it easier. So that goes from 10 to 20. You have three models: the H model, non-constant growth, constant growth. First thing I want to talk about how to check these to make sure you're doing it correctly, because we have to test everything. So if this is a constant growth model, I know the value is equal to the dividend in year one divided by K minus G. So K minus G. That works out to 44.14. I feel like I have that right. That's telling me that these numbers are adding up correctly. Now the other two models, the H model and the non-constant growth model, are exactly the same, except they have different amounts. So the size, timing, and risk, the size of the cash flows is the only thing that's different. So what about the size of the cash flows? I know that they should be growing at a particular rate. So ending divided by beginning minus 1. Copy that across. If those dividends are growing the way I think they should be, then they go at 30% for 6 years and go to 3%, which is what happens. So if I change this to 4, the right number of years, I'm going to change that to 25 and 5, just to make sure it's doing what I think it should be doing. Then I change this to the H model. And look, it's going from 30 to year 4, and by year 8, it's at 3%. We change that to 3. So I feel like by doing that I have the size correct. I have the timing right. I know from checking the constant growth model. So I feel like the prices are correct. So everything in blue is an input. You look up the current dividend. You're choosing the model. Your analysts are telling me what these inputs should be. You're having to decide if it's going to be a treasury note or a treasury bill, if it's going to be adjusted or unadjusted, and if you have historical, survey, or implied. All these numbers are put in. The adjusted beta comes from knowing that the unadjusted beta was already calculated and given to you some way. The unadjusted beta is 1/3 plus 2/3 times the unadjusted. And that's just the way the adjustment's made. We'll talk about that at a different time. So now that you have that, there's a formula where the red is. So the red tells me there's a formula there. You can't change it as a junior analyst, but a senior portfolio manager, managing director can change it. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about, the data tables. Notice I have red, yellow, and green. The reason for that, I'm calculating a value right here. The price I can see in the market. This is a value that I calculate, but I'm not sure about which model to use or what terminal growth rate to use. So if I use a 4% terminal growth rate in the H model, then this is clearly a buy, because my value is 156. If that's right, I can buy it for 125. That's awesome. I'm making a lot of money. What if I value it at 126? Well, it's selling for 125. I'm not sure that I want to pay 126 because I could be wrong. So I want to have green if it's above a certain upside. I want to be able to change that number from whatever percent, and red if it's below a certain downside. So I can change that number, and the red changes, and anything in between there is a yellow. So red, I sell it because it's way below, it's 20% below what I value it, or I should say it this way, I value it 20% below what it's selling for. Green, I definitely buy it because I value it at 15% more than what it's selling for. Anywhere in the yellow, I don't do anything. I want to have right here, be able to have a start value and an end value. So I can start at 2, end at 6. And notice, start at 2, end at 6, and have even increments in between. I can start at 0, end at 4, even increments, or end at 3. So I should be able to put those numbers in, start in an end value, or I could do it start in increment, which I've done here. So the start value here is 2, the increment 0.1. Should be able to do any of those, and that is what you need to do in this spreadsheet.